Welcome to the Neutral Zone. Today we're going to be talking about the Big 12 and tier ranking the teams heading into the 2024 season. Lost Texas, lost Oklahoma, but added a few teams from the Pac-12. So obviously going to be a different conference. I think a lot of parity in this conference. No real head of the conference as of right now, at least in my opinion. So with all that being said, if you're new to the channel, please like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single upload. We upload every single day and we go live every Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern to talk football. But Dad, let's get right into it. So we're going to start tier ranking. Just before we get started, obviously we still see Oklahoma and Texas on here. It came with the tier, so we're just not going to add them to the tiers, obviously. But Dad, I went first on the ACC yesterday, so I'm going to go ahead and let you kick us off.
Yeah, I'm going to start with conference favorite, Colorado.
I'm going to let you start us off. I'm going to let you start us off. Go ahead.
You didn't hear me?
Go ahead.
I started.
Relax. Come on. Let's go. Give me the first one.
All right. Start with conference favorite. And first of all, I want to mention exactly what you said. I said ACC was the toughest. This is the toughest conference to try to rank because, yeah, there are a bunch of like decent teams, and I don't think there's any heavyweights in this conference. But just kind of based off of what we know, I'm going to say conference favorite has to be Oklahoma State.
Okay.
I'm going to move Oklahoma State to conference favorite. And only because obviously they have a known commodity between their head coach and some of the players that they have. I just think coming in the next year, this team is probably my favorite to win the conference. And we'll see how the season goes. They were 10-4 last year, finished second in the Big 12 last year, in the Big 12 championship. I think they're bringing back a 1,700-yard rusher in Gordon. So I think this would be my conference favorite early right now as I'm looking at it.
Okay, I'm going to go with Colorado. I'm going to go ahead and add them. I'm going to go a few years later for Colorado. I like them here. Obviously,
I feel like you did that on purpose because you know.
Yeah, I'm gonna make sure that I get them on the board first. But I think a few years later is a few years away. I'm sorry. Is fine for them. Obviously, going from 1-11 to 4-8, we saw them lose. A back end of like 8 games of 9 games at the end of the year. I think they're going to be better this year, maybe 5 to 6 wins. But I would favor more than half the conference over Colorado this year, in my opinion. So that's the only reason why I have them at a few years away. Obviously, they have the talent on their team, but when you look at the talent they have, they're going to lose a lot of that talent in the upcoming draft after next year. So I just don't know if they're going to be able to fill that talent. Obviously, you have Travis Hunter, former number 1 player. Obviously, Shedeur Sanders, who's probably going to be a Heisman caliber player this year.
I would say Shedeur may, I'm going to say may be the best quarterback in this conference.
Yeah, so I mean, I think when you lose, don't sleep on Noah Fafita, but
that's why I said may.
Yeah, when you lose and Cam Rising, but when you lose those kind of players, I just don't know if you're going to be able to reload that. So I put them a few years away. I think that's a good spot for them.
All right, I'm going to go the other way. I kind of, like I said, have this kind of played out in my head. This hurts me to say. You guys don't know I am from the city of Cincinnati. That's where I am from. That's the city I claim. But yeah, I got to move Cincinnati to dumpster fire. They obviously 3-9 last year, basically brought up the rear in the conference last year. And I don't see much in their recruiting or portal moves to make me think that they're going to make a major jump next year. So yeah, I think 3-9, 4-8 is probably where they're going to lie next year as well.
Okay, I'm going to go to the top. I'm going to go Utah for a conference favorite. They're my favorite to win the Big 12. I know you said Oklahoma State was yours. I like Utah in the Big 12. Obviously bringing back Cam Rising. And again, one of in my opinion, the most disrespected team in college football, the most disrespected program. So I feel like they have to be up at the top in conference favorite. And before we continue, we have 16 teams. And there's 5 different categories. So one of them is going to have 4, just letting you know.
Okay. All right. I'm going to go with respectable next year. And in respectable, I'm going to go TCU.
Okay.
Again, as I kind of played this out in my head, I think TCU is a good team. This is a team that, obviously was in the national championship 2 years ago. Was the same team that lost to Colorado last year to start the season. I don't want to say they're on a downswing, but I think that's about where I would have them, especially as I play out the rest of the teams in this conference next year.
Alrighty, moving on to my next piece. I'm gonna go ahead and do one piece away, and I'm gonna go Kansas State here.
I
Obviously
like that.
lost Will Howard heading over to Ohio State. I still think this is a really good team. This year finished 9-4 in the Big 12. Obviously, two of the teams that finished above them are gone now. So I think this team can compete for the Big 12 title. So it's going to be very interesting for them. But I do like Kansas State a lot. I think the Wildcats are bringing back enough to compete in a wide open Big 12 conference this year.
All right. To kind of double up on dumpster fire, this is also where I'd have Baylor. Baylor again, 3-9 total last year, 2-7 in the conference. Again, there's just not a lot of moves for Baylor that make me think they're about to make a big jump this upcoming year. I think they're going to be at the bottom of the conference next year.
Yeah, I don't mind that pick. There are a few. I think there's a few teams that could fit in that spot, but obviously we have to fill three, so I don't mind it
Yep.
at all. For another one under one piece away, I'm gonna put this team here. Even though I feel like they can go to the top, but I'm gonna put them here for now, and that's Kansas. I think Kansas as well can compete for this, this conference. They're 9-4 as well. You lose Oklahoma and Texas. Obviously, Kansas had a really great year. Jalen Daniels was hurt for a good portion of the year. They had I think his last name is Bean playing quarterback for a good portion of the back end of the year. So I think Kansas is going to be back, and I know I'm not sure if you saw it today, but there was news that came out that they're going to play 4 games at Arrowhead this year. So that's going to be
Yeah.
pretty cool.
All right. For next, and I'm going to go one piece away to kind of close that out. And I'm going to go Iowa State. They're bringing back Rocco Beck. They went 7-6 last year. But again, I think they're going to be better next year because of what they're bringing back. This was a pretty good team, 6-3 in the conference last year. And like I said, I think they're bringing back a number of key players, and they are going to make a jump this year.
Okay, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna move Kansas State. I know I put them at one piece away, but I'm realizing I want another team at one piece away, and I want to move Kansas State up. So I'm gonna put Kansas State here. I want to put Arizona at one piece away. I think
Ooh,
they
so as we kind of did it, I had them flipped, but
So the only reason why I think Arizona should be at one piece away, they lost their coach. I know they bring back Fafita as well, like McMillan, but they
yeah,
lost so many other pieces that they're kind of like Washington. Washington, everybody went to Alabama with the coach, and then Arizona's coach went to Washington, and all the players from Arizona are going to Washington. So I just don't know how they're going to fill that because I already wasn't super high on Arizona as is. So I think you lose everybody except that quarterback and running back and and wide receiver in Fafita and McMillan that I just don't know if they're going to be able to replicate what they did this year. I know Jaden Delora transferred, I believe, to like North Texas or something like that to play quarterback there. So Fafita, the true freshman, is taking over the reins there at quarterback. So I'm not fully invested on saying they're a conference favorite because of everything that they lost.
okay, I respect that. Was it your pick? I think
It's your pick now.
Oh, because you pick. Okay. So I'm gonna go UCF at a few years away. I know they're bringing over KJ Jefferson, but this is not a great roster from last year. This is a team that didn't have a typical what we come to respect in terms of UCF. This was a 6-17, so below 500 in a big conference. And while you did lose 2 heavyweights, I think overall the conference had gained even more parity, especially in that middle area. So this is where I would have UCF. I think KJ Jefferson is going to make them a little bit more dynamic, but I don't think he's going to have them better than some of the other teams in this conference.
Okay, I'm going to go with an easy pick here. I'm going to go Texas Tech at respectable. I feel like this team kind of fits the mold of being a middle of the road team in the Big 12. They bring in, I believe his name is Micah Hudson, if I'm not mistaken. I think I told you about him a few months back. The wide receiver. I think he's the number 1 wide receiver out of Texas. Coming out of Texas as a recruit, they picked him up. So I'm excited to see how he meshes in there. Obviously, he went to a smaller name school when you're a very highly touted recruit. So excited to see that. But I think they went 8-4 or 9-4 this year. Or they went 7-6, 5-4 in the conference. I think with Texas as well as Oklahoma out, I don't think they have a chance to win the conference, but I definitely think they can shake some things up.
All right. Next, few years away, I'm going to go Houston. I like Donovan Smith. I think they have some pieces, but I think they're still not ready to necessarily compete at a high level in this conference. I think they're going to make a bit of a jump. That's why I don't have them necessarily in dumpster fire, but I don't necessarily think they're ready to to be play with the big boys. So that's where I have Houston.
Okay, sounds good. I'm going to finish out respectable. I'm going to go West Virginia here. Another team went 9-4. I thought they had a worse record than 9-4 last year. 9-4 is actually a really good record. You almost hit 10 wins, and nobody really talked about you last year. So I like the fact that they ended up 9-4. At the end of the year, 6-3 in conference. And again, I know I've been beating this drum, but Texas and Oklahoma are now gone, and I feel like that makes the conference wide open. I wouldn't be surprised if anybody from respectable up made a run at a Big 12 title game appearance. I wouldn't favor West Virginia to win it all, but I wouldn't be surprised if West Virginia was 9-2 heading into week 12, week 13. I would not be surprised at all. So I like West Virginia at respectable.
All right, my next pick at dumpster fire, I'm going to go Arizona State. Again, not a great year last year. Nothing really changed that will make me think that they're about to make a major jump. Had a really bad year. And again, I just don't think they're going to make a major jump next year. So I have them as one of the bottom teams in this division.
Yeah. So I'm going to go BYU and dumpster fire as well. Yeah. Obviously, I think they beat Arkansas last year, if I'm not mistaken. So they obviously had an SEC win on their schedule. They ended up being 3-9 or 4-7, I think, or 5-7. They were 5. Yeah, 5-7. Although it's almost 600, 500. I just don't see them really progressing in this conference. Yeah. I would love to have them prove me wrong, obviously, but I feel like when you look at the other 4 teams, I probably wouldn't favor BYU against a Baylor. I wouldn't favor them against a Cincinnati, maybe against an Arizona State. I think Colorado would handle BYU, and you guys who've been here long enough on the channel know how I feel about Colorado. So I think BYU has to be a dumpster fire for that specific reason. I think Colorado just has a little bit more upside, a little more optimism than BYU has going forward and heading into the 2024 season.
Yeah, so just looking at this, and I know Power 5 conferences get an automatic bid. I think I believe the layout is Power 5 conference champions get a bye. This conference, I'm not trying to be mean, and I'm sure somebody's going to break out, but besides Oklahoma State to me and Utah, and Utah is probably, I guess you can consider them a bit of a power, but the rest of this conference is very mid. Now, I don't think their bottom is as bad as some other conferences. I think all the teams that we have in dumpster fires could come around and surprise us. I wouldn't be shocked if you told me any team that we have in dumpster fire finished 8-4. But I don't think they have a top tier team, a team that and obviously as Ohio State fan, a team that if we had them on our schedule, I'd be like, oh man, I'm a little concerned about it. There is no team in this conference that I'm like, oh, I'm a little concerned about them. This is not to knock any of these teams. I think this is a team, a conference, that's probably only going to have one team in the playoffs. That's just my early prediction that the Big 12's probably only going to have one team in the 12 teams playoffs.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think there's a lot of really good teams. I just don't think there's that top 5 to 10 team in this conference. I think Utah is fringe top 12 at best. And obviously, like I said, I've been a very big advocate of Utah and their program. But how they looked last year, obviously without Cam Rising, there's a lot of question marks surrounding their offense. They're always going to have a good defense, but they could surprise everybody and go, 11-1. They could really go undefeated. If we're being honest, they could go undefeated.
But even my concern with Utah is, while Cam Rising, I think if Cam Rising plays, they will be a very good team. The concern is depth behind Cam Rising, because Cam Rising has been hurt a couple times. It isn't like he's shown Iron Man, and last year was the first time he got hurt. He missed the entire year last year, and then kind of that rust. And so what happens if Cam Rising can't go for any period of time? I don't even know who they had. They lost obviously the 2 quarterbacks that played last year. I don't know who their quarterback is. I think they probably will pick somebody up in the portal prior to getting to August, September. But my concern is I think Cam Rising is a great quarterback. I just think if he were to go down, they're in some trouble.
Yeah, I agree. So we'll see. I'll have to see how it kind of shakes out for them. But I still think that they're my favorites heading into the year for the Big 12. Yeah. I could see Oklahoma State as well, and then obviously Kansas State right behind them. But as always, if you are a Big 12 fan, if you're a fan of any of these teams, maybe some of you guys are Pac-12 fans because your team just moved over. But as always, if you're new to the channel, please let us know in the comment section how you guys feel about it. Like the video, subscribe.
I would have had Colorado higher. I want to put that.
We're not putting Colorado higher.
I would have had them higher.
But I look forward to seeing how Colorado fares in the Big 12. Obviously, they were really good early last year, and then the Pac-12 kind of ate them up alive. So I think they're going to do a little bit better. But as always, like I said, like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss an upload. We go live every single Sunday, 9 p.m. Eastern. Thank you guys so much for rocking with us, helping us get to that 1,000 subscriber mark. We want to continue to grow this channel and community, and we will see you guys at tomorrow's video. Peace out, everybody.